Hey everyone, welcome to Cryptid Crunch for the Multiverse Funraiser. I should probably play this clip before we get into what we're actually doing here today.
My name is Mark Weiss, and I'm the president and founder of an organization called Comic Books for Kids. Our complete entire mission is dedicated to providing comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers. I've been passionate about comic books literally my entire life. I love the industry, I love the mythology of the characters, but I've always also wanted to give back. And it occurred to me that perhaps something could be done that would allow us to create an organization that allowed us to provide comic books to the kids in hospitals and cancer centers. And I asked them, I said, if we were to provide comic books to you, would you like them? Every hospital I called had the same story. Please do this for our kids. My goal at the time, a year ago, was to deliver 1,000 comics in a calendar year. By the way, I had no inventory. To 20 hospitals, which, by the way, I hadn't contacted, and bring on 2 publishers. That was my 2017 goal. As we wrapped up 2017, we shipped out over 8,000 comics last year to over 100 children's hospitals in almost every state in the country, and almost every publisher that is here today is working with us. Our community tab on our website shows stories from nurses, from children, from mothers of students, patients, children who have had their lives touched by the simple, small act of kindness of just giving them a comic book. The stories are incredible. You can't make this up. And if anyone had ever told me that we would be influencing people's lives by just these small acts of kindness, I don't think I would have ever recognized the impact. I feel very humbled and very flattered that we've been able to touch so many people's and children's lives. And I never thought the responsiveness would be what we are seeing. It's about letting kids be kids again. And it's about bringing comic books back to the kids.
Hey there, Keisha.
Howdy.
It feels nice to have you be my regular co-host again.
I know. Oh, darn kids and stuff.
So, I guess we just jump right into it. We are going to be talking about cryptids in comics, and apparently there's a lot of them out here. And I realized my mistake as I was like setting up. I'm like, I should have totally had like Clive or one of the comic book Spectrum guys join us for this, because besides you and I've collected comics for years, but none really like this with the Hulk. Who better to talk about comic books than someone who actually has been around it for forever? But I will do my best.
Oh, I know. I was sitting there and I collect comic books. I read comic books, all that good stuff. But I was like, I am highly, I don't know, I feel underprepared. I'm like, I need to read more cryptid type of. I do have a lot. When I was going through my collection, I was like, okay, I have a lot more cryptids than I thought. But so these are just some of them that I found. I didn't go through my whole collection because they're everywhere around my house. And my house is chaotic, horribly chaotic. So I was like, I found these ones. I haven't read them in years, so forgive me if they're not 100% cryptid. But have you noticed that a lot of just regular everyday comic books deal with cryptids? Because I mean, it's just the theme.
Well, there's a team called Alpha Flight, and they're a Canadian team, and obviously that's where Wolverine came from. We have Sasquatch on the team. So yeah, that's a cryptid.
Nice. Of course you guys would have Sasquatch on the team. I've got my little helper here.
I don't think it would be a Canadian team without him, quite honestly.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
I mean, I guess we could have had the Yeti, but...
This is kind of like a mix between both. I feel like it's a Sasquatch Yeti looking thing.
And I didn't know... Oh, so go ahead.
I'm obsessed with Green Arrow, so I have like a majority of Green Arrow. No.
I didn't know that Rob Zombie had a comic book out for Bigfoot.
I feel like Rob Zombie is a man of many everythings.
Yeah.
He's amazing, though.
So, like, going down the list of, like, trying to find screenshots of different comics, obviously there's a Mothman comic.
He's very big right now. Like, I feel like Mothman has been very big for the last year or so. So I feel like we're going to see him a lot in comics.
He seems to be a lot of people's favorite. That's another classic Mothman. And I feel like that inspired the Ticks character for Arthur.
Oh. Oh, we just got a good question in the comments.
Yeah. Sci-Fi Queen says, what is your favorite comic? Oh.
You go first, because I already know what you're probably going to say.
Oh, my goodness. Right now, I think it's the Elvira stuff.
Okay, I was right.
Yeah. Elvira actually is going to be coming out with or she has already come out with a Elvira meets Lovecraft. And she's done so much over the years, like since the 80s, has come out with several different comics. And yeah, I think that right now that is like my thing.
So I have mine right here. So I don't know if anybody has ever seen the TV series iZombie.
Yeah.
But they have it in comic book form, and
Did that come out with like around the same time as the show, or because I think some of the art is very much
you know what?
similar to.
I'm not 100% sure. I actually did I really pay $15 for this? Oh, I'm obsessed. I have a problem, especially since it says $1 right here, but it says that I paid $15 for it, which sounds like a thing I would do. I'm trying to see when this came out. Oh, it's talking about Xbox 360. So it's been a second. Like the back has an ad for Xbox 360. So this has been a second. I'm trying to think. You know what? A lot of the artwork does remind me of the show. So I imagine it came out pretty close to, because you can even tell like the main character kind of looks. So I'm trying to, I don't know. I don't have my glasses on today because I kind of forgot to put them on. So I'm old.
It's okay.
If you see me squinting.
It's okay. I had to put on my reading glasses because I was starting to get headaches. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Let me see.
Okay, Johnny says that iZombie was a comic book series before it was.
I was going to say, I thought I had this longer than that, because especially with it being Xbox 360, because I watched iZombie when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they based the series a lot more off of this then. Because a lot of the characters do look like that in the series. Sorry, I don't.
No,
I'm skipping around
with Johnny. It's become a shtick for us now.
Oh, I got my little cryptid over here.
Hi.
So, But yeah, that is one of my favorites. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I didn't even check to see if it's autographed. Give me a second.
That is a good question, Carl.
It is. I just bought it and didn't even care if it was autographed. Oh. My husband brought my glasses up.
Thank you, hubby.
Oh, and a baby and a 6-year-old and a cat. You know what? We've got the whole crew here today, guys. Yeah, you know what? I don't see
Clyde Hall
signature
is
on there.
asking if we read any of the Ahoy Comics Project Cryptid books. No, I haven't. I don't know.
I have not. Oh, Dolores, the littlest cryptid. That's true. We have everybody here today.
Even my tiny 6-year-old.
You're a
Sci-Fi
tiny
Queen
6-year-old.
She looks super cute. She is very adorable.
She is super cute. She's a little crazy.
Hi.
We're talking about comic books. Do you like comic books? Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have.
You do have some. Oh yeah. My husband's finding more comic books. So we have them.
I love how he's helping us.
He's so this one is his series, right? You like this one? We have like a lot of these, so. But what are these about? Probably something, I don't know. Looks zombie-ish. Or not zombie-ish. Vampire-ish. There we go. Guys, I haven't slept in a week. You'll have to forgive me.
She has children. It's forgiven.
Yes. Also a teething, 7-month-old today.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She just got her first tooth in, so yay me.
That's when you start bottle feeding.
Yeah, no, the cute little one right back there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I breastfed for 2.5 years.
Oh.
Yeah. Full set of chompers. That was fun. Okay. Oh,
my sympathies.
Thank you. Everybody in the comment.
Everybody's just collectively going, ooh. Hey, Krayley, good to see you.
Hi, Cray Cray.
So lovely to see both of your faces.
Keisha be driving me crazy is one of our hashtags.
Sci-Fi Queen says, happy 7th month.
Carl said, owie.
Yep. Everybody's like, so I saw this in my search today, and I'm not familiar with this comic book, but now I'm interested.
It's Avengers, but I have heard of it. I have not read this one, though. It looks like it has JD on the cover, though.
Yeah.
A purple JD. JD. For those of you that don't know, JD was one of our original hosts way back in the day when we first started up. He actually has his own comic book about
Yes,
cryptids.
he does.
I don't know if you found
no, I have to stalk him on Instagram. But speaking of friends that have comic books about cryptids, Grant Lankard, and I feel like a jerk for not inviting him to talk about it.
Somebody go him down and have him jump on.
I did post on his page, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then one of my favorite comic creators, Evan Quaring, with Murder City Devil, which is it is a character loosely based on Spring Hill Jack, which we've talked about on the show months ago.
Oh, we've talked a lot about cryptids on this show.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it is a show about cryptids. I'm trying to see. I've got a whole stack of beautiful magazines. My brain said magazines. Comics.
Johnny says Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers is awesome.
So I'm trying to see. By the way, tentacly creatures are very popular in comics. Like, as I was going through things, I was like, there's a lot of tentacle type of...
Yeah, and especially when you go down the manga route.
I don't want to get hurt. I'm not a manga person. But yes, my son reads them, and there's some weird stuff out there. I guess when you're reading a comic book, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And when you're reading manga, anything could happen. Because I feel like those two genres right there just pretty much take it as close to the edge as possible.
Yeah.
Like, look at this beautiful... I don't know why, but I love the artwork on this. Let me take it out of the... So I have almost all of my stuff in protective because I'm weird.
No, I'm with you on that.
Look at how cute he is.
That is really cute art. Like, I don't know if I should be saying cute art, but I really like that art.
Okay,
style.
as somebody that draws that kind of artwork, it is cute. I like it. I'm trying to see if there's a better picture somewhere. Just putting a couple trigger warnings. If don't read this one if you're not into darker stuff. Okay, thanks. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think a lot of us who are into like the cryptid thing is used to it being dark and not for children.
Yes, a lot of the stuff that I read is not for children. Hey, double negatives are fine. It's okay. My husband's making fun of me for using double negatives.
It's okay. I get that all the time from my husband if I say a wrong word. Apparently, I didn't pay attention in English class very well.
See, I paid attention too much, but I just can't remember any of it to save my life. Oh, did we get
faces at us?
Yes. Did we get some new comments?
So Carl says Grant fulfilled his Beowulf 6 just now, so that the cryptid series should be up for funding pretty soon, which is awesome. Yay Grant for doing that. So if you guys are interested in knowing more about Grant Lankard's cryptid series, please go to his page and look it up.
We like to support our friends here, so
yes.
If anybody else has anything coming up cryptid-y related, just pop it down in the comments and we'll try to give it a shout out. I know a couple people have some coming out sooner rather than later.
Clyde says Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers was a fun read. Marvel Unleashed by Kyle Starks was a great Pet Avenger recent series. I'll have to definitely look that up though. The Ahoy Project cryptid title has 2 stories per issue, each one centered on a cryptid legend, but they should probably do 1 story an issue and focus on the one critter. They always feel rushed.
Clyde, why are you not on here with us?
Because I'm a bad host and forgot to ask him.
Clyde, save us. Come save us, please. Send him the link, man.
I totally bombed on this one, guys. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Of course, 45 minutes before the show, I'm like, help.
I did notice that.
The meme of the person drowning and then the other person just giving the high five comes to mind.
I'm the one giving you a high five. I am here to be a pretty face. No, I'm kidding. I'm here to be a semi-decent okay face.
Why does Johnny give me this job of being a host? Oh, right, because he says that I'm a good host.
Hey, you know what? Different people have different definitions of the word good. It's okay. I think he just likes to see what kind of chaos we can get into.
Yep.
Honestly. He's like, you know what? Here's a thing. And we're like, we're gonna take that thing and we're gonna crumble it up a little bit and just go whoo.
I are a professional.
Our professionalsness. Oh, Carl, thank you. You're so sweet. Carl's in the comments. He said, your shows are always entertaining at the least. So, you know, that's true. You never know what's going to happen.
And Carl says, I tend to write more in the mysterious person and suspense genre, no cryptids yet. It's okay. We already got you working on a couple books already, so.
That's okay.
But have you watched The Tick at all as a kid? Was that a show that you liked watching?
It looks familiar, but I was one of those weirdos that like I had two things that I liked watching. Old shows like High Five. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, High Five, and MTV. Those are my two. Like, I don't know how healthy that is.
Can we go back to the days where MTV actually played music? Like, I miss those days.
That's where I learned who Missy Elliott was. Missy Elliott is great, by the way. MTV, old MTV, man. I miss that thing. But yes, it does look familiar, but I can't figure, like, I can't, it's more recent than I think it was.
Yeah, it was a show that made fun of superheroes.
That sounds accurate. I feel like that's something my husband would watch. Let's see. We got some more comments.
Carl says, somewhere I'm working on a new show opening for a little show called Cryptic Crunch. So, somehow we got that in Carl's head that I needed a new intro.
Carl, we've got you working on a bunch of different things right now. Thank you, though. Carl is his awesome person that helps us with a bunch of stuff.
He has a spy novel coming out, which is awesome. And then he's going to be working on a book of D.B. Cooper. So I don't know.
D.B. Cooper might be a cryptid.
You know what? The more I hear of him, and we might have to revisit that story because there's some interesting little tidbits that I did not know that I read later. And then, of course, like there's this weird jewel thief that showed up in Canada at one point, and so I'm wondering if the two are the same.
I can see that. Didn't we do a whole thing on?
We did, but something tells me we're going to have to revisit D.B. Cooper with a little bit more detail.
I know. I feel like once we have a show on something, we're like, hey, the show's over, but we keep watching and researching on these ridiculous things. And, then we need to revisit them later on. I'm trying to see what kind of comics. So, everybody knows this comic. Or I hope they do. Supergirl.
Oh. Yep. Resurrection Man. Oh.
So for those of you that don't know, I imagine this is about a zombie. I'm guessing.
Have you read any of like the DC zombies or the Marvel zombie series?
So no, but I do have a lot of DC issues. So there you go.
Nope. That's awesome.
I'm trying to think of if I have. So I was trying my best to look. So this is I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a DC fan. I am. But I'm a bigger Marvel fan.
Yeah, there we are.
So we got some zombies here. Look how beautiful that artwork is. I don't know. I just like this cover.
Yes. I need to put my Marvel zombie plaque up because we need to have a Dolores cam, I swear.
Let's enlist today. Stop the zombie. Then we got good old Spider-Man.
Yep.
So,
Carl says, loving the looks Dolores gives when the camera is on her.
She is definitely a gem. I appreciate her existence. She's really cute. You can sit there. Oh, kids, man. I tell ya.
Before the show started, I was saying that because I grew up in foster care, I'm not really interested in having kids, but, she kind of makes me want to have a kid. Kind of.
She's honestly like a mini me. I feel like if I didn't already know how I was, she would be overwhelming to me. But I'm like, just put my brain and how I work into a little kid, and that's how she works. So I got this. I've hacked the system, guys. Dolores, honey. Mommy needs to sit this way. She keeps moving the chair around, so pretty soon you're just gonna see nothing but the back of my head.
And our hero.
Clyde, you are
Thank
a
you
beautiful
so much.
human
I'm
man.
so sorry for not inviting you sooner.
Well, that's okay. I didn't have my broadcast stuff set up, so I had to dig it back out real fast. I thought I was done for the day. So, but yeah, thanks for the invite. There was a comic book, and I'm trying to think if it's an Ahoy book or not, but this is one of those cryptid things. Because I'll read a lot of cryptid books. I'm looking forward to Greg Lankard's his Kickstarter. I've got it bookmarked to tell me when it begins. But there was one that I don't know if it was the Ahoy one or not, but there was a little blurb story in one of them that was in my hometown and was a cryptid I had never heard of. It was like the sightings of a fella. And it wasn't just here, it was in different parts around this region, but this would have been before, like right before the Wright brothers. But this fella had like a steampunk set of wings and was flying like a steam-powered flyer. And the mayor of our town back then had a sighting of it and reported it. So you never know when you're digging around the cryptid stuff, even the comic books like that. I had never lived here my whole life, had never heard of this legend. I haven't found very much follow-up to it, but I found it in other places. I just didn't see our town mentioned in it. But that was one of the cryptid things from the last year that I thought I knew. We have several. We have the Little Red Man of the Woods legends around here. The we have the panthers roaming the woodlands, rural area, um, and Bigfoot, some
Hmm.
Bigfoot from the '60s, and the big muddy monster, from the '60s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I had never, and we've had some UFO things around here, around Scott Air Force Base, specifically in the '80s and stuff. So I try to kind of keep up on it, but that was one. It's sort of like finding a diamond in the rough. You're like, I live on top of another one, and I never knew this. So
Okay, so since the question was asked earlier and Willow and I both answered, we must know, Clyde, do you have a favorite cryptid comic?
um, nothing is coming to mind. Um, I always like supernatural elements in like superhero comics. Superman fighting a werewolf. I remember that one from the '70s. That was a favorite crossover issue with the vigilante when he was a cowboy hero. So it had westerns, it had cryptid critters, and it had Superman. So what's not to like when you're a '70s kid? But
Yeah, that's pretty much covers all bases at that point.
yeah, you got it all right there. Um, that one stands out. But as far as um, a comic book specifically about cryptids, they did a nice dive last year. Um, it may have been Aftershock before they went mostly bankrupt. There was one that looked at the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction, a real
Oh,
deep
okay.
dive into that. That was pretty good. Of recent things, that one comes to mind as
Mhm.
really grabbed my attention because I had read accounts before, but this had some new info to. I don't know how accurate it was. I'm not certain. There's a lot of dispute about the veracity of their experience, but it was interesting to see it unveiled again, and more details coming out about it. So I'll go with that.
I'm okay with that answer. That is a pretty good answer.
I think it was called Blue Book.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I was trying to see if I have. So I am in what we call our gaming room, which is
Mhm.
basically just all geekery things. So we own all of the game systems that were ever created. We have no organizational skills whatsoever. We just have them literally everywhere. But this is also where we keep our comic books, our VHS collection, because we have a very large
I
1,000
think it's
VHS
common for us nerds and creatives to have like a collective mess all over
and
the
then we
place.
have all of our
Oh,
minis back
I
there.
I know now. After giving me a second to think, I know my favorite cryptid comic now. I had
What
forgotten
is
about
it?
this. Men in Black,
Oh,
the
okay.
original Men in Black series, which the movies were based on loosely, but yeah,
So
yeah.
forgive me if I'm wrong, because you said Man in Black, and my brain went to, isn't there one? Isn't there like an X Files comic book after
Yes,
the X Files?
Yes, there is.
Okay, because I was
yeah.
gonna say I remember reading some of them, and my brain was like I had that little, hey, I remembered this.
Yeah.
Um, so ooh, yeah, I gotta go back and find that because I feel like I have some of them somewhere around my house.
Mhm.
Um, and now I want to read them.
The thing,
Sorry, I have ADHD, so my brain goes wherever it wants to when it wants to, and that is where it took me to the X Files.
well, yeah, that's a good destination. And since you mentioned that, makes me think probably the first time that I started to really get interested in cryptid uh, creatures or things that may or may not exist. Um, Kolchak the Night Stalker TV series, which is what the showrunner for X Files said inspired him to do X Files. about an investigative reporter that lives in Chicago and keeps uncovering these stories of weird happenings and haunted suits of armor. Um, the I can't think of his name. He's a swamp creature from Louisiana that preys on dreams. Aliens. But yeah, there was just all kinds of they had Native American and Hispanic entities. They had the Rakshasa, which is an Eastern Indian. Um, it's a demon spirit that looks like people that you trust until it can get you.
I
close
love
enough
it already.
Yeah,
That's
and that
my
was
new
in the
favorite.
that's like in the early '70s that they took the Night Stalker TV movie, which if you've not watched it, if you like vampires, it's a great slice of '70s vampire lore
I do like
and
vampires.
fiction. I gave him Darren McGavin played this very smart, not very tough guy, but a very smart reporter, um, uh, very dedicated to presenting the truth. Thus, the truth is out there later on. But he would, against his editor's wishes, his editor always eating a gross of Maalox every episode because this reporter just keeps wanting to report on these things that are impossible, and nobody wants to read about rampant spirits of dream death from Louisiana in Chicago. Why would they want, But he's hard
As somebody that lives near Chicago, I'd read it.
Yeah. But he's a hard-nosed reporter. He wouldn't be dissuaded, and it was just they turned it into kind of a monster of the week deal. Some of the episodes are not as good as others, but overall, for a young person at that time, it really got you interested in what might be out there that we don't know about, or if a reporter uncovered something that looked like it was unknown, how far would they be willing to go to present the story? So
sounds like a show that they should probably look to bring him back. Maybe a Netflix series or
no, they tried
No?
that.
Okay.
They tried to relaunch it. They stuck Darren McGavin as Kolchak. They stuck him in the background in a little CGI thing, looking very 70s in this 1990 or 2000. I think it's 2000s newsroom. But yeah, it had no charm. It just really needs, if you've ever seen Darren McGavin and stuff, he brings the characters with him. And without him, it just was kind of like, oh
my goodness.
That's interesting. There's a cryptid. Hi.
She's reading comics. Got to get him started early, guys.
Absolutely.
Don't eat it. Oh, she's eating it.
Yep. There we go.
Oh, those zombies got nothing on you.
And the price of that comic book just went down. Look away for those comic books.
Somewhere there's a collector out there going, no!
So, anybody want a pre-chewed comic? I feel like it's gone up in value now.
Well, it could be a prize.
It's
if
a
you wanna make
zombie. It's a zombie one. So, I mean, honestly,
Okay.
I feel like it could happen if somebody tried to eat it.
Authentic.
For the
Authentic zombie.
next person to make a donation to Comic Books for Kids.
I will gladly send this to whoever makes the next donation. If you make a good donation, I got you. You got a pre-chewed Marvel Zombies right here.
There you go.
Carl with the yikes.
Hey, Uncle Carl. How are you?
Yeah.
So you guys are
Keisha's
gonna have to
DNA
tell
is
me later
now on
if somebody makes a donation of over 20, I will gladly send this in the mail.
Cool.
Even pre-chewed. You're welcome.
And just to show what we're donating to.
And this is what we do. We do this every day. On Christmas Day, I was getting emails from hospitals on Christmas Day I was responding. Sickness doesn't take a break. We are there for the hospitals. We are there for the kids. We will do whatever we can do. And as I look and talk to you, and I talk to all the people who are watching this, be a part of this. However you want to be a part of this, be a part of it. If you can send us $5, send us $5. Send us 5 comic books, a Funko Pop, a toy, a children's book, send it to us. However you want to be, make a difference, because we're all in this together. And here's the cool news. Nobody knows who I am, and here's why. When we give these materials to the hospitals give it to the kids and the parents. Comic book for kids and my name never shows up. When this stuff goes to the military, when my comic shops send the pallets, my name is never there. And that's great. That's all right. Because it's not, as I said, about us. It's not about promoting who we are. It's about all of us together in the industry making a difference for so many. And that's what we're about, Kelly, and that's what we do every single day of the year.
Yeah, and right now we are at $1,102 raised out of the $2,029 goal. Though that I'm wondering if that's a Canadian price. Now that I'm looking at that, I probably should read off the American price. But yeah, in case you guys are wondering,
that's probably Canadian. So side note, if anybody missed the actual show, was it last night where they did so go back and watch that, because the interview with him, he had some fantastic.
It'll make you cry. Just giving you guys.
I'm pretty sure Willow did cry. I'm pretty sure Willow and Kelly both cried at one point, because there was some good stories going on about just different ways that they've helped, even ways that you didn't think that comic books would help. But one of the stories I think that got Willow and Kelly last night was about a little boy who was in the hospital for months and didn't say a single word. And he had gotten the comic book, and he said, what did he say?
He said that's Batman, when a Batman cosplayer walked in and handed him the Batman comic book.
And so yeah, I saw Kelly and Willow both look down, and they were kind of like, you could tell that they were kind of like,
yep.
I was like, oh. But yeah, go back and rewatch that, because just helping out in ways you didn't think were helping. So,
and it also brings up memories about, Willow, I didn't know your background with comic books, your fascination with comic books, where it came from. Part of childhood stresses and traumas. I knew comics. I kind of, they were okay, but what really cemented it when I was a kid, kind of like John's story, my mom worked as a cleaning lady in a hospital. And back then they always used to have a gift shop of secondhand rummage sale stuff. And that included comic books. We lived not too far from Sparta, Illinois. So a lot of the times they would come with no covers, because at the printing plant, if they didn't sell, they'd tear off the covers and they would send them out for, and sell them for 5 cents. And so one night, big storm rolled through. My dad and I were at the house by ourselves, and the power went out. I was a little kid, and I was scared and was waiting for Mom to come home. And when she came home, she had a stack of comic books. And the first one on top was a DC comic about the Phantom Stranger. This was a guy that comes out of the shadows to fight the forces of evil. And it was just like it was meant to be. I was all stressed out about no power and the big storm and all. And here was this guy that would just show up and help people. And the protagonists in the story were kids too. So from that time on, comic books had a whole new element. I think like 5 at the time. So after that, I get it, and I have seen it where comics and those kind of stories are hero fodder for kids that are going through a lot
Yeah.
of stress. So
It's amazing how you can correlate the real life story of comic book characters to what happens in people's lives in real life as well. Like, because I grew up in foster care, I found it easy to relate to the X-Men a little bit more. But as I grew older, I started to relate a little bit more to like the Batman characters as well, because a lot of characters that you read in comic books have like surrogate families, and they come from abused homes, or like drugs and alcohol abuse is very prevalent in a lot of superheroes origin stories, even villains.
right,
I actually
right.
had a couple. I should have brought them out. I had a couple of the comics on origin stories, and one of them was the Bruce Wayne, I believe,
Mhm.
and I think that's in my other room though. That's in the library. So, but yeah, there's comics tend to help a lot of, I feel like a lot of people going through things, because it gives you something that, first of all, it's tangible. I've tried reading comic books on my phone. It's not the same. I feel like having it in your hands is better.
Yes.
But having something that is, I guess, not relatable. How do I want to put that? It's basically a step away from reality if you have or grew up in a situation, or if you are in a
The
situation.
escapism.
It gives you, yes. I know some people do comic books, some people do video games, some people do regular books, but it just gives you that. It gives you something to get away to.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Instead
Gene
of
Roddenberry stories. He talked about, like on college circuits, is that he was sickly as a kid, and he ended up having to had stacks of books that he would read because that's really about all he could get out. He couldn't get out, so that's about all he could do. And he became a reader, and he said, "I dove into these fantastic otherworldly worlds because they were a hell of a lot better worlds than the one I lived in." And boy, did that resound when I first heard that. I used to have an LP that had his college talks on it. And man, I felt like I was being looked at. It's just, yeah, these are the kind of, and comics were a big part of that. It ended up being prose books too. But, to begin with, comics were my gateway drug. And then the others just came along afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't think of who did it right now, but speaking of comic books and being able to relate to characters and all that good stuff, isn't there one out by one of our friends called The Nebulizer?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian Rodman. Yes.
That's who it is. Okay, I was gonna say I have it. I read it. Couldn't remember who it was.
Yep.
And hopefully, he is supposed to be making an appearance this weekend as well. So keep your thoughts and prayers to him, and hopefully he's well enough to make his appearance on
the
Sunday.
Indie Comics show, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has dealt with really bad asthma condition ever since he was a little kid, and it has only gotten worse here from the pandemic on. It's
recently
much,
it's been pretty.
Yeah. But he wanted to make a comic book for kids that he could have related to when he was a kid, and so he fashioned the Nebulizer character. It's a future, and it's a fun story, but it also, you can see where kids that have asthma conditions, respiratory conditions, would really take an inspiration from this, because it's a future where you don't just have like germs and all of the viruses floating around. They're like mutated monstrous ones. And so he has this Iron Man kind of suit that allows him to breathe and also to fight these things off and destroy them. So yeah, it's a great read. If you haven't checked it out, BR Productions, I think BR Productions, um, and go there or look up Brian Rodman on Facebook, and there'll be links to where you can get his materials. It's good stuff.
Yes. When I read it, I was actually, uh, I kind of fell in love with it because I was like, you know what? A lot of kids don't get to see that kind of stuff, especially if they have certain conditions and stuff like that. There's not a lot of, you know, I don't think anybody in this has asthma.
Right.
So, you can read it and you can relate to some things probably, but for kids that are going through specific things, it's always nice to have something that they can look up to, like a superhero that, hey, this is like me, but they still get stuff done type of thing. Like they're still a superhero, which is always nice.
It's a great empowering message that comes
yes.
from those kind of books. Yeah.
And I feel like that's what comic books for kids is trying to do, is give kids like, hey, there's good. I mean, oh,
There it is.
Ah, there he is. Yeah.
And he also had a toy made of his character, which is cool.
I feel like that looks kind of cryptidy too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like anything that has monsters and beating up bad guys that make you sick. Yeah, that's definitely up our alley.
Yeah, and aligning with your earlier comments, I bet there's some tentacles in that book too. If you dig around there a little bit.
Darn tentacles. I feel like that's a theme.
Do you guys remember what your first comic book was when you like? What was it that either your parents bought it for you or what you picked off from the rack?
The one that I mentioned before, that's the first one I can really remember the cover and everything. Although I know I had some before that, but that one cemented. That was House of Mystery, like 67. I'd have to look back and be sure. But it's got it has this very dramatic picture of the Phantom Stranger on the cover and a merry-go-round with kids screaming on it. So yeah.
I think my first comic, well, aside from like the Archie comics and all that, I remember my mom coming home one day from a garage sale, and she kind of just threw this kind of somewhat tattered comic at me, and she goes, "Here, thought this would be something for you to read," and it was like Sheena, brain fart. I remember Sheena being on the cover, and this woman in kind of like Tarzan type clothing, and I'm just like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But
I am currently trying to Google what it was because I can't remember the name of it. So Google to the rescue. I'm trying to find it real quick, and then I will get to.
So did you become a Jungle Girl comics fan over that?
You know what? I think that was like my first love when it came to my gateway to like the superhero genre.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I think I was still very much into like the Archie comics around that time. And then as I progressed into other like reading Sonic the Hedgehog and all that, I think I was still a little too young for progressing into more superhero-ish. But as when the X-Men came out, that's when I started going into more of the superhero genres. And
so you went from Sheena to Shauna the She-Devil to Kazar to Stories of the Hidden Lands and the X-Men, right?
I love Carl's. Did Sheena make you want to cosplay eventually? You know what? I honestly can't say Sheena was the one that got me into cosplay. I think when I was watching Batman, the animated series and seeing Harley Quinn, and I'm like, I can make that outfit. And I took a red pair and a black pair of pants that were very similar in style, cut them up and sewed them together. And my mom and my foster mom's like, "Why'd you do that to your pants?" I'm like, "Because they look cool."
So I couldn't find it, but my start of comics was not actually comic books. It was comic strips and newspaper.
Oh, okay.
So anytime I got the newspaper, or my grandma, I lived with my grandma. I grew up with my grandma for a good portion of my life. And anytime she got the newspaper, she would go directly to the death announcements to make sure she didn't die and she wasn't aware. Because that's the kind of person my lovely grandma was. She's like, I gotta make sure I didn't die today. And then she would, after she got done doing that, she would hand me the comics, because the comic strips would be right on the back side of the death announcements. You gotta have some humor with some sadness. Yeah. But she always used to hand me those. And I always remember, what were the top ones that were on there? I think Garfield was always in there. What else is there? Still, almost all of them are currently in there. What are we? Phantom.
It was actually the Phantom Stranger comic, number 3. Neil Adams cover, which I'm a big Neil Adams fan. But that was the comic book that really got me hooked. It was bugging me. I couldn't remember the actual number. So
that's okay.
That's cool.
I was trying to figure out which one mine was, because I remember the comics from the newspaper the most. Because, well, I feel like a lot of people don't read newspaper these days, but that was my favorite part. That and the astrology. I don't even really follow astrology, but I would always read the astrology and be like, oh, how lucky am I going to be today, guys?
So what kind of a strip were you remembering, or did you?
So it was a kid friendly one, and I can't remember what it was. It wasn't like super like realistic. It was more like a little kids based one, like cartoony one. And I'm trying to think of what it was. I tried looking it up, because it would have been in the 90s.
Okay.
Do you remember the characters? Like, what were the characters?
See, that's the thing, is I can envision them, but my brain is like completely blanking on it, and I want to know what it is now.
Did it have did it follow like the adventures of a little girl or a little boy, or
it was like a group?
Okay.
Let me see. I'm trying to find it. I really am. Because I would like to find it.
Because the comic strips that I remember reading in the 90s was like Bloom County. There was Foxtrot. And yes, your clock is telling us that it's almost time to end the show.
Yes.
Yeah, Foxtrot, Bloom County.
I know that I used to read the Looney Tunes. They used to have a Looney Tunes one that I used to read. But I can't remember. And Zelda. But okay, so we've got a minute to say our goodbyes.
Yes. Keisha, where can we find you on social media? I know you're taking a little bit.
So right now I'm taking a little bit of hiatus, but if you look up Acuff Creations or Keisha Acuff, I'm there. I also am currently working on a new cookbook, which is called Moochie's Harvest Kitchen. If you go to Instagram, look that up, follow me. Lots of food.
Clyde, where can we find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Clde Hall, or author Clde Hall, and Radiating Positive Vibes is a daily column that I put up. Look at nostalgia, things to make you smile, is some bit of positive good news. This weekend, of course, it's the Multiverse Funraiser. So check me out there.
And you can find me all over social media. Just, search my name. Skylor Productions is on YouTube, as well as I have a Facebook page as well. Okay, so we're here to raise money for comic books for kids, and I'm gonna play this last reel for you, and we're gonna push on to another show.
Bye, guys.
The
Bye.
Multiverse Funraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Funraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.